Hey everyone, and welcome to Godfoe Gaming. We are the gaming side of the Godfoe universe. Check out our parent channel in the link below for podcasts, short films, and more content coming. With that out of the way, let's jump into the video. Alright, so I built this deck last week, but haven't been able to get around to make the video for it. I want to go ahead and just jump right in it because this is probably my favorite commander of anything that has come out of the Lord of the Rings recent release, and for good reason, because this commander is great. And I'll just go ahead and read it if you're not familiar with it. He's the Lord of the Nazgul. He is a 1 blue, 1 black, 4/3 with flying. Race you control have protection from ring bearers. We really don't care too much about that. His second ability: whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 3/3 black wraith creature token with menace. Then if you control 9 or more wraiths, race you control have base power and toughness 9/9 until end of turn. Now it's important that people understand this, that this ability here, then if you control 9 or more wraiths, race you control have base power and toughness 9/9 until end of turn, is dependent upon this first part. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 3/3 black wraith creature token with menace. So if you begin your turn and you have 9 wraiths, or more, 9 or more wraiths on the field, they don't have base power and toughness 9/9. You have to cast this first. You have to cast an instant or sorcery spell and create one. Then, if you still control 9 or more, or you now control 9 or more, they have base power and toughness 9/9 until end of turn. So that's an important distinction to point out. I've seen a few people build this deck, and I'm going to be honest, I wasn't super impressed with it, because I think people are thinking in terms of spell slinger. And I get it, because you're rewarded for instant and sorcery spells for playing those. But you're playing those for a reason, and that is to attack. So I would honestly call this an aggro deck with spell slinger tendencies, because what you're trying to do is get wraiths out and swing and hit. And another thing is, I've seen a lot of people focus on 9. They want to get 9 out. And I get it. It's because you want all your race to have base toughness 9/9. But board wipes exist. And not just that. No, we're playing blue here, so we have counter spells, of course. But more than that is that even with this deck, it's not so easy to get 9 wraiths out. Or at least it's not, or at least to get them out quickly, because your commander doesn't even come out until turn 4 or 5. You can get turn 2 if you get really lucky. You can get a land into a Soul Ring, into an Arcane Signet or something like that. Bam, turn 2, you drop another land, he's out. So you need to be thinking in all situations. Worst case scenario, he didn't come out till turn 5. Okay, that's 5 turns where you might have another wraith out or not, but you're behind. So let's take a look at this. So I've got a lot of sorceries in here, a lot of instances. I've got at least 30 of those, 11 sorceries and 19 instances. But something people I think have overlooked are the creatures. So here, everything in here, except for 1, which is our pattern matcher, can be a wraith. But most importantly, a Nazgul. Now our Nazgul, we have 9 of these in here, of course. And their ability is great. It has Death Touch, and when it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, put a +1/+1 counter on each wraith you control. A deck can have up to 9 cards named Nazgul. Alright, that means if you have 1 out, when it comes in, bam, +1 on it. Or in all wraiths you control. You get 2 of these out, bam, +2. Because each card triggers. So, we want to clone these Nazgul. Our main strategy is to get Nazguls out and clone them. And while we're doing that, building up the 3/3 wraiths with menace, because menace is an incredible ability. So the best way to do that is to cast sorcery and instant cards that allow you to get Nazguls and create a wraith, because the Nazgul and their copies of them buff your wraiths. So now they're not just 3/3s. Now if you have 2 Nazguls out and you create a wraith token, and you throw out a Nazgul, now you get 2 Nazgul on the field, bam, it's 5 instead of 3. It's a 5/5 instead of a 3/3. And the other thing is, like I said, if you can't get 9 out, what's to stop you from having, 2 Nazgul or 2 or 3 wraiths out. Maybe you got 5 or 6 wraiths out or something like that. But now they're all like +2 or +3. And that's just something to think about. Like if your commander keeps getting targeted and destroyed, like I said, no, we're playing blue, so we have counter spells, but you never know what can happen. I'm not saying play safe. I'm saying play aggressive. Don't just get guys out. Buff them. Get them strong, because Lord of the Nazgul may be out or maybe exiled. You may not be able to get him out for some reason or another. Buff your guys and get wraiths, because every one of these copies of a Nazgul is also a wraith. So you're not losing anything. So that's the main thing here. And another thing I see looked over is whenever the ring tempts you here on the Nazgul. Whenever the ring tempts you, put a +1/+1 counter on each wraith you control, and that's triggered by the Nazgul. You don't need Nazguls for the ring to tempt you. There's other cards like Sam's Desperate Rescue, and it's also Recursion. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. The ring tempts you. That's a great card all around. Claim the Precious. Destroy target creatures. It's 1 and 2 black for a destroy target creature, and the ring tempts you. Every time the ring tempts you, and you have Nazguls on the field, all your creatures are getting +1 or more. That's insane. Like, this is a really good deck. A really good commander. Here, Ring Sight. The ring tempts you. Search your library for a card that shares a color with a legendary creature you control. Reveal it, put it in your hand. You can use that to get like any card out, as long as your commander's out, or any legendary creature, but really dependent on the commander there. You can use that to grab Nazguls out of your deck. Throw one down. If you got 6 mana, use this. Search for a Nazgul. Pay another 3. Smack it down. What else? Rebound and Flashback, especially Rebound, are overlooked cards that I've seen people overlook, because look at this, like Distortion Strike. 1 mana, 1 blue. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It can't be blocked this turn. That is amazing in this deck. I mean, you made a creature unblockable for 1 mana, and it gets a +1 until end of turn. For 1 mana, bam, you're creating a wraith, and then your next turn, because of Rebound, you play it for free. And the reason Rebound works so great in this deck is because it says, if you cast a spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost, which means you get a free wraith at the beginning of your next turn. That's crazy. Another one is Cypher. I know I've got a Cypher in here somewhere. But I wouldn't go too heavy on Cypher, just because that depends on you being able to hit people. Like, it depends on the Cypher ability. Only triggers if the card that it's attached to causes combat damage. So, but it's good. Like, if you wanted to build around it and prove me wrong, go for it. Here to Cypher. Paranoid Delusions. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Cypher. Then you may exile the spell card encoded on a creature, basically enchanted or attached to. That's not exactly right, but think of it that way. Whenever that creature deals damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost. Bam, you hit somebody, you get another wraith. This is how you get wraiths out quickly, and you are also buffing them. And I mean, I can't tell you. Just play test this deck. It works great. Don't take my word for it. Play test it. I'll include a link so you can. Cards like Defy Gravity. You give a creature flying until end of turn. Flashback for another 1. Bam. So you can play it next turn. Flashback is great because you never know. You may have to discard your hand. You may, like I said, get board wiped or something. These things you can depend on. If you can cast things from your graveyard that can just give you wraiths, awesome. Cards like Snap, 1 and a blue. Return target creature to its owner's hand, untap up to 2 lands. You cast this card for free, which means you get a wraith, which means that frees you up to cast another card, another wraith. Let's see what we got here. Artifacts or enchantments. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. That means if you have a Nazgul or more out, your creatures, your race, because we're only running race except for 1 creature, are getting buffed every turn for free. That's crazy. This is like a Victory's Envoy, but not a creature, so it's harder to get rid of, and it's cheaper. Levitation. Creatures you control have flying. This should be in this deck because you're running Menace, and Menace I think is better than flying overall for aggro, but you can still have flying on here, which gives your Nazgul flying. They already have Death Touch, which means they're little barbed wires that nobody wants to hit. Now you can give them flying. The other thing with Call of the Ring, whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you choose a ring bearer every time the ring tempts you. You may pay 2 life if you do draw a card, which means this card for a 2-drop for $4 at the beginning of the ring tempts you, you buff your creatures, which could be 1 to 4, theoretically 1 to 9 times or more, depending on how many copies or Nazgul you got out, or copies of Nazgul. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life. That is at the beginning of every turn. You can pay 2 life, and if you do, draw a card. It's like a Phyrexian Arena for 1 more life. Here in considering, like I said, here's some sorcery that are ciphers. Like I said, I was kind of thinking about cipher, and I didn't want to go too much into it. Tainted Strike, you could throw that in here if you got your +9/+9s on original 3/3 bases, or your 9 base with 3/3s on them. That's a one-shot kill right there on a creature with Menace that gets through. Throw down Tainted Strike, bam, done. Mithril Coat, if you're a little pricier, that's a great card from this set. Tutors are great as well because you can get your Nazgul out. The one creature in here that isn't a Wraith / Nazgul, which I plan to make all of these Nazguls or Wraiths, Canoptic Wraith straight, it can't be blocked. Pattern Matcher. If you have a Nazgul on the field, you don't have one in your hand, you're trying to buff your creatures, trying to get something out, you can throw this guy down, grab a Nazgul out of your deck, there you go, it's in your hand. What I've noticed while playing this deck is you can get to the 9 really quickly, and they're buffed. Everything's already buffed with the +9, so that even if you can't get to the 9, you are still buffed. Because remember, you can clone anything. You don't have to just clone the Nazgul. You can get Wraiths out and clone them too. So you have mad versatility in this deck, especially since you can buff your creatures. But what I've noticed, as I was saying, what I've noticed is that you can get creatures out that are hitting hard very quickly and still keep things in your hand. And card draw helps with that, like Deep Analysis, of course, with Flashback. Flashback is even cheaper than the card itself. And you need cards in your hand. I know some people make you discard, but board wipes and Commander are prevalent. You need to be able to get back up and running again, even if your commander's been destroyed 3 or 4 times. And a way to do that is copying Nazgul, as I've said. So just give it a play. I issue that challenge to you guys. Just give it a play. Play test it. Actually check it out and see what you think, because there's too many people building decks, I think in theory, that don't try it out. You can't control everything that's going to happen, of course, even though we are playing blue. But you can know that your deck runs the way it's supposed to. All right. That's about it for this. I did throw in Witch King of Angmar. I see other people throwing in the other variant of the Lord of the Nazgul / Witch King, the one that makes people basically sacrifice a token whenever they get hit. I don't think that one's great. I left out the Ring Wraiths and Sauron. I saw people throwing all these other things that are Wraiths technically, but they're high cost. For the cost of a 5 or 6, you could have you could have at least a Nazgul and another Wraith, depending on the sorcery or instant in your hand. You could be getting towards your goal and not being slowed down just because something is quote unquote a Wraith that doesn't buff any of your guys and doesn't get you to that 9 hit faster. The Witch King of Angmar I left in because he basically gives you Death Touch. Whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage to you, each opponent sacrifices a creature that dealt combat damage to you this turn, and the ring tempts you. Again, buffing all of your guys. I actually built a deck around Witch King of Angmar first because I didn't know Lord of the Nazgul existed, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of like a what I would call like a Death Touch / Ward deck that also has the Nazgul to buff. And you can discard a card. Witch King of Angmar gains Indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. Anything with Indestructible that can do all this is worth putting in your deck. So that's why he's here and why everybody else isn't. they just seem to me, playtesting it again, actually trying it out, they just seem to get in the way. So let me know what you guys think. I'm recording this very fast because my infant is sleeping, and I am trying to get this done before they wake up. So that's why I'm speaking so quickly. If you let me know what you guys think, like and subscribe, and we'll have more stuff available. And I'll see you later. Thanks.